Hi Year 6, this is Wednesday's input for English. There we go, got it out in the end. Okay, so we're going to start off with word of the day as always. So your word of the day today is overwhelm or overwhelmed. Meaning, if you are overwhelmed by a feeling or event, it affects you very strongly and you don't know how to deal with it. So in a sentence, Emily felt overwhelmed by the work in her lessons. Now, I know that some of you have felt a little bit overwhelmed sometimes with your remote learning, especially if you've maybe missed one the day before and you're trying to catch up. For some of you, it's because maybe you're not getting out of bed till 11:30 in the morning/afternoon, so you're trying to then get everything done before assembly time, and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Okay, so linking to the sentence and also to World Mental Health Child Mental Health Week, please make sure if you ever do feel a little bit overwhelmed, you speak to someone and then you use some of the strategies that you have to help you with your mental health. So go for a walk, play with your dog, read a book, doodle, whatever it may be. Okay, so what I want you to do first of all is see if you can put overwhelm into a sentence. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to move on to the Eric starter. Okay, so here you've got your picture and you've got E, explain. What is magma? So remember, use the picture to help you. R, retrieval. How many pairs of red eyes can you see? Now remember, a pair, there's two eyes there, so that's one pair. I, interpret, inference. What is happening in the picture? Why do you think this? So use the evidence from the picture. Don't turn around going, oh, there's a spaceman on the moon, if it doesn't look like there's a spaceman on the moon in the picture. Okay, and please make sure you explain why. And the last one, C, who is the person in the hat and why? Okay, so who do you think they are? What is it they're doing there? What are they up to? Okay, so be creative. Some of you get lots of house points for your Eric starter because you're really creative and you put a lot of detail into your answers. Now, we're going to move on to the lesson input. If you've not read the next two chapters, which are chapters 33 and 34, please do that now because that will help you with today's lesson. Okay, we are looking today at planning a diary entry from the point of view of Stanley. Now, yesterday on Tuesday, you did a poster about all the features of what you would include within a diary. So you would have looked at things like past tense, chronological order, which means it's going in time order. It's personal, personal pronouns, I, me, interesting facts, okay, things that you have done. So we're going to go through some of the things that have happened to Stanley over the last two chapters, okay, or maybe the chapter 4, and put them into order. There's some really interesting things that happen, and then I'm going to show you how you can put that together to make your plan, okay? So the first thing that happened was Stanley stole the truck and crashed it into a hole. He had a great start and then it ended miserably. So that was the first thing that happened. This is when you're starting your diary from the day that Stanley decided, I'm going to go and see if I can find Zero, and he stole the truck. He then realised he had no water in his canteen because if you remember, his canteen kept hitting him on his chest, and he said every time it hit him on his chest, it was like it was saying empty, 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 which isn't good when he's trekking across a barren wasteland. He knew he had to return to camp, but he wanted everyone to calm down first, so he knew he was going to be in trouble. But he thought, I'll just keep walking for a bit and then I'll go back and everyone will have calmed down, because he didn't want to face the wrath of Mr. Sir and the warden. He then was surprised by how many random holes there were outside of the camp. Okay, so even after camp was way off into the distance, there were still pockets of little holes, which surprised him. And then he kept seeing lots of yellow spotted lizards down living in the holes, okay? So these are events that have happened, okay, within that chapter or chapters to Stanley, okay? And this is what you're going to try and include within your diary when you eventually write it on Thursday. Today we're just planning it, okay? After that, he thought he saw a pool of water. In fact, it was just a mirage. He then, even though Godstone seemed like such a long way away, he kept on walking. He kept saying to himself, didn't he, I'm going to get halfway and then turn back. But then he realised he wouldn't know how far halfway was. And then, because he kept having debates about how long he'd be able to last. And if he thought, well, I can only last another half an hour, but he had to walk back half an hour. So he kept having this debate in his head, but he kept going, didn't he? And then he saw something unusual in the desert, a boat called the Mary Lou. And he kept thinking to himself, who would name a boat the Mary Lou? I wonder if Mary Lou was a pretty person. And then, when he got to the boat, he says, a dark hand and an orange sleeve reached up out of the tunnel. Okay, and that is where we want your diary entry to finish. Okay, leaving it on that cliffhanger, that suspense. Now, I know lots of you are probably thinking, I know what that is, that bit at the end. Okay, that's absolutely fine, but we want you to leave your diary entry there. Okay, so again, these are things that have happened in chronological order to Stanley throughout those chapters. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how you're going to take, for example, Stanley stole the truck and put that into a plan, including how he was feeling. Okay, so we know Stanley stole a truck and he crashed it into a hole. So on this side, how might Stanley be feeling? So at first, Stanley was nervous and could feel the adrenaline racing through his body because he had never done anything like this before. When he crashed the truck, he felt frustrated and angry because he just wanted to get away from it all. Now, as I've read that, you'll have probably heard me emphasising the word because. So I am saying how Stanley might be feeling. So I've said he's felt nervous and he can feel adrenaline racing through his body. But then I've explained why. I've gone into detail. Okay. And then I've said that he was frustrated and angry when he crashed the truck. And then I've said why again. Okay. And that is really, really important because when you come to do your actual proper diary entry tomorrow, you will need as much detail as possible to help you, because if you were then putting that into a diary in first person, you'd be saying, so as I stole the truck, adrenaline was racing through my body because I'd never done anything like this before. Then suddenly I crashed into a hole. I was so frustrated and angry. I just wanted to get away from it all. And there you've put that, what has happened and how he might be feeling and why, into a few sentences, which really gets it across to your reader. Okay, so it's really important that you put this extra detail in and you explain why Stanley is feeling the way he is. Okay, I'll show you another example. So he has no water in his canteen. So how might that make Stanley feel? Imagine that was you. You're in this barren wasteland, this desert. How might that make you feel? So it will make him feel thirsty, obviously, and worried. And why would it make you worried? Because you know he's in a desert where there is little water. He could become dehydrated. He knows how dangerous that is. Okay, so that is going to make him feel worried and scared. And if he does find Zero, he's got no water to give to Zero. Okay, so again, gone into detail about it. Now, your job is to put what has happened, these things that have happened, into a table, and then to write how that might make Stanley feel and why. Okay? Now, you can take all of these if you wish. You can take most of them. You can create some of your own. I will be setting a limit on how many minimum you have to do. So please make sure you do those. And use mine as an example here. I've put this top one on the Word document, okay, to show you a good example. Okay, so write down what's happened, take the ideas from this video, and then how Stanley might be feeling and why. Okay.